First of all, again, to everybody, welcome. I'm Steve Brazel. That, of course, is Troy Miller. And those of you that are here from IEPPV, welcome. Those of you here from Orange County, San Diego, wherever you are, thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a fun one. I've known Freddie for a while now. Freddie was on my Behind the Shot podcast, February, I think, of 2020. And we did food photography at that point. And then I got to know Freddie over the last year and a half or so, or almost 2 years probably now. And just a wonderful guy and an amazing photographer, food and beverage photographer based out of New Jersey, but also has some workshop stuff coming up. For example, I think just next week, he's leaving with Rick Salmon to go do a Mount Rainier workshop. I'm doing a workshop with him in October in New Orleans, and just an all-around great guy. And by the way, let me just say, I've got a new episode with him on what we're talking about tonight, which is beverage photography on Behind the Shot. And that comes out a week from tomorrow. Again, all on beverage photography. So with that said, Freddie, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Troy. Happy to be here. Really appreciate you having me. And I guess, let me get
and
started
that's it.
here. So
thanks, everybody.
That's it.
Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
very much. Cheers. Cheers. Salute. So yes, I'm a food and beverage photographer. Beverage is definitely my main focus, my main specialty. And I've been doing it in fact, I was just having a conversation in a group the other day, and we were talking about our very first worst shots. And I went back into my archives and I pulled a shot that I should have thrown out, but it was from 2014. So I've been focusing on beverage for 7 or 8 years now. So I got this presentation, and like Steve, what you said, if there's any questions, definitely feel free to just there we go, I'm in. Definitely feel free to just holler them out. So again, thank you everybody. And beverage work. The most important thing, like any type of photography, is going to be your lighting. And right now in the food space, natural light or the natural light look is very in vogue. And you will see a lot of beverage work where it's backlit from either, back right or back left. Very harsh, very strong light, usually coming in and casting a shadow down across the front of the photo, color casting whatever liquid is in the glass. And that's great, nothing wrong with that. I've done those shots myself. But the main thing I want to convey to anybody who's wants to do beverage is definitely begin to learn your artificial lighting. It doesn't have to be expensive to start. I started with speed lights. You can, start with anything and begin to work your way up. After speed lights, I had the Alien Bees. I used Einsteins. I will rent more expensive gear for, when a client job comes up where I need to have more gear or more, things like Broncolor. But begin to get a feel for how to approach lighting. And like I always tell people is, whatever you learn in any form of photography, light-wise, is going to help you in anything else you do. As I dug more into lighting from my beverage work, I noticed my lighting in any other type of photography that I do, for fun or, landscapes, when I do portraits, I noticed that my other aspects of my photography got stronger because of my lighting skills that I picked up in doing this. So definitely get yourself a couple lights, play with them. Most of what you're going to see tonight is done with Einsteins. I use that's the Paul C. Buff stuff. I use strip lights, strip boxes mostly. I have bigger soft boxes. I have beauty dishes that I use. But if you pick yourself up a couple of strip lights to start, and again, could be speed lights. That's cool to start, no problem. In fact, in certain things we'll talk about later, speed lights are really going to be your friend. Get some stuff to play around. My beverage work came out of the fact that one day I was bored out of my mind and it was raining. I had nothing to eat in the house really, but I had some beer in the fridge. So that's what I use to shoot with. And that was the start of it, and it was just because I was bored. So it's something like any kind of still life work. It's something you can do anytime. You know, grab a beer out of the fridge, grab a bottle of scotch off the counter, and just play. All right, that's the main thing. What I'll do a lot of times is I will use a snoot for my labels, just to focus some light. You'll see, especially in that Guinness shot there, um, the harp and the Guinness. You want your labels to pop, especially if you're doing client work. You do want, they paid a lot of money for their label. They want it seen. They pay a lot of money for any embossments on the glass, any neck labels, or any raised glass. So you definitely want to, whatever's on that bottle, and your client is going to want to see it. So snooting. The other main thing I do all the time is leaf filters. I diffuse the hell out of my light. So it's a light behind in a strip box, and then I go through another layer of diffusion to get that softer curvature around the bottle. You'll see in both of these images that I'm not a big fan of the hard light down the edges. In my mind, a light is supposed to help you define the shape of a subject, shape of an object. So I want you to see, and using the light, see that, yes, this bottle is curved, it has shape, it has form, and the diffusion, the light dropping off around it is what's going to give you that. So that's my main mantra for lighting. And really, it all comes down to, and I'm sure you've heard this before, the bigger the light relative to the subject, the softer the light. So that's where my diffusion panels come in. I'll use the whole sheet of diffusion, the whole width of it, put my strip light behind it, so that whole sheet of diffusion becomes my primary light source. So that's really what I'm focusing on when I'm, when I'm lighting a subject. Okay. Come on, there we go. You worked in prep. Come on. Sorry about that.
So if anybody has any questions, make sure you throw
Now's
those
a good
in
time
the
while I'm
chat.
frozen up here. All right. The other main tool I use all the time is I don't know what's going on here.
Real quick, while he's getting that
Yeah.
straightened out, so everybody knows, I put a link to the Paul C. Buff Einstein and
Okay.
the leaf filters in the chat.
Yep, great, perfect. Another thing I use all the time is a circular polarizer. If you're a landscape photographer and you shoot a lot of lakes and waterways, you'll find that you probably already own one of these. Polarizers will help you tune in the light. So, not going to get into the whole science of reflective polarized light, but usually anything coming off of glass will be affected by a polarizer. Same thing as with anything coming off of water. So a circular polarizer, you'll be able to, if you light your subject, you'll be able to go in, look through the viewfinder, and as you turn your polarizer, you will see your lighting change. And that's when you can really begin to fine tune. I also will a lot of times polarize. I'll get the sheets of polarization and put it on some of my lights, especially when I use a snoot or the beauty dish, to actually polarize that as well. And then you can both turn your light fixture, your light modifier, and you can turn your circular polarizer on your lens, and that will really help you control that light. You will always get unwanted specular highlights, reflections. Polarizers will go a long way to help you remove that. I do try to do most of my stuff in camera, but there are definitely times when the angles just aren't there. You're going to have to battle with them, and so I will do the best I can with the polarizers, and then wind up going back into Photoshop and tweaking it from there. And then you can use the square ones. I use the leaf filter system. But you can also get the twist-ons. There's a lot of companies, you know, that are out there. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. Why is this not giving me? I'm going to have to do it this way all night, but that's okay. All right. When you're approaching a bottle or a glass, you want it to glow. You want to have some of that mystique of that glowing amber liquid for scotches. You know, the glow of a beer, even white wine, and also things like Coca-Cola. I mean, not just liquor, but anything you put in a glass, you definitely want it to be glowing. There's a lot of ways to do that. The simplest way is to find either reflective material, so either a gold card or a silver card or a white card. White's becomes a little duller, but you cut out a piece of reflective material. You can put it behind or under your glass, and then if you bounce a light into the glass, it will bounce back at you. The light will come bouncing back at your lens and create that glow that I'm talking about. You see this image here? I mean, this is actually there is a piece of, there's a piece of gold that is behind it, that is bouncing back that light. And I think that one actually also has a little bit of gold underneath it too, to give me a little bit pop up.
So Freddie, is that gold that you're talking about? Is it at a distance from the glass, or is it physically, like taped to the back of the glass?
Not taped. Usually, it's about 2 or 3 inches. It can be about 2 or 3 inches behind, and I'll cut it out and angle it so you're not seeing it. So it's not taped to the glass because you want to give it a little bit of range. You want to have a little bit of distance behind it. But it's relatively close, and it's close enough that you aren't going to see it, sticking out the ends.
Got it. Cool.
Now you can also get this effect with lighting too. You can have lights from behind. I've actually just recently started to play around with using an LED, a small LED fixture that I put in behind a glass or a bottle. I've been getting mixed results. I'm still kind of fine tuning that. But it's one of those things that you can, it doesn't have to be the gold card or the silver card, but those are some of the easiest ways to approach it. And also, economical way to approach it as well. All right, let me.
Excellent.
All right, and same thing here with beer, right? So this is a black and tan. Now normally, the black part, the Guinness part, I'm not going to worry about backlighting that because you got to throw a lot of power at to bust through a Guinness. But for the bass below it, it's the same principle. I've got a light behind it, kicking light back into the back of the glass, to get that glow. Other things to think about with beer is you want that foam to be white, you want it to be crisp, and you want it to be full. One of the telltale mistakes, and it actually when I was talking about that image I did from years ago, when the foam does not crest the rim, and you can actually see through the parts of the foam, under the rim through the glass. So when you're doing a pour, you want that foam to come up, fill the rim, and even a little bit above. You'll begin to get a feel for just how much beer can I put in this glass before the foam is going to spill over the side. Chopsticks are your friend in this. The bamboo chopsticks, something in the bamboo, I don't remember the name of the material, but there is something about bamboo that will make beer foam. So if you just take a bamboo chopstick, swirl it around, you will see that foam grow, and then you pull out the chopstick and the foam will be there. You can also use salt. However, to me, that's an affront to God because then I'm not going to want to drink the beer. So, bamboo chopsticks, I can tell you because I'm still alive, bamboo will not hurt you in the beer because I've drank pretty much every beer I've ever shot. I've twirled with bamboo and then drank it afterwards. So the bamboo won't hurt you.
So I just have to interrupt and say 2 things. One,
yeah,
first time anybody has said I've twirled with bamboo. in this show. So
Okay.
that's
the
number
first.
one. Number two is Guinness and Bass, which is the proper combination for a black and tan. Very few restaurants have Bass anymore, but that's the proper combination.
Right. Well, so one of the things I'm going to talk about is knowing your subject and knowing how to make the drinks proper and how to do, So I'm a very firm believer in, whatever you're making, a black and tan, that definitely a UK thing, right? An Irish thing, however they're making it in their homeland is how I approach whatever it may be. So I'm a big believer in getting it, not only getting the picture right, but getting the drink right too. So we'll move on here.
What app is this you're using, Freddie?
I'm using, it was Keynote, and it's not.
It looks like it's not in a play mode.
There we go. There we go. Yep, perfect. Okay, thank you. All right. The next thing is to tell a story. So, you'll see a lot of my images are product images, but then also I'm trying to do more and more where I'm actually conveying a story when I'm shooting. So in this case here, this drink is a Sazerac. All right. It's a, native drink of New Orleans, possibly the first cocktail ever made. There's some discrepancy about that. There's some arguing about that, but it could be the first cocktail ever made, but it was definitely created in New Orleans. So when I went about creating this image, I was like, well, what did I want to convey? So my thinking with this shot was, it's maybe Mardi Gras, it's Carnival, and I'm having a party, and I'm making you a Sazerac. And maybe I'm wearing that green mask, and I took it off so I could see what I was doing, but I'm actually physically making a Sazerac for you. That's why the sugar cubes are there. That's why the muddler's there. And if you look on the edge of the muddler, there's actually sugar and the bitters. That's how you start the Sazerac. You put some bitters over the sugar, smash it up in a glass. So some of the sugar even held on to the muddler. So that's what I wanted. I wanted that there. So think about a story. Think about, why are you here? Why are people here? What are you trying to tell them? What are you trying to share with them? And make sure that everything in that image is working toward conveying that story. There's nothing extraneous in this shot, right? It's a Sazerac. It's the tray I would be serving on. I took off my mask, so I could see what I was doing. Put that to the side. I've got the sugar cubes. Everything was here with a purpose, and everything needed to be there to tell the story.
So did you take the time to make sure that sugar was on the muddler?
That was a happy accident because I made the drink. I made the drink right before I shot it. So when I approach this, what I'll do is I will set up all my lighting. I will set up my props and have a stand-in glass, and then I'll nail down my lighting, nail down my look, and then literally I will go and make the Sazerac, and then bring it in and literally put it down. So when I was making the Sazerac, I knew the muddler was going to be there, but then I'm like, oh, some stuck. All right, great, perfect. I'm going to leave it there because that happens a lot. That can happen a lot. So that's the purpose behind. Yeah, that's how that happened. So it was a happy accident. All right. On telling the story, sometimes the human element can be help to convey the story. And the story behind this is, a good night at the hotel, right? It's you had a good time, a couple of drinks, good company, and this is a little bit later in the night. So with the arm hanging in there, kind of conveys that the drinks are empty, the glasses are spilled, the shaker's knocked over, so it's later in the night, and this is the shot afterwards. So that was the thinking. So human element, hands are very can be very popular. You could use shadows. You can things like car keys. I thought about like getting a hotel key and putting it on the dresser. Um, just think about things to help to tell the story and make it more personal by putting a person in it. Sometimes sometimes it's a full person. It's a face, right? I mean, for this one, it was Guinness, St. Patrick's Day, a redhead with a green shirt. I mean, what else? What can say more about St. Patrick's Day than that right there? You know, drinking a Guinness, some of the foam stuck to her lips, but it's, definitely an Irish girl wearing a green shirt on St. Patrick's Day. So you don't need to include an entire person. You don't need their eyes, but just little hints and little pieces to suggest and let people, make the jump from there. And then, again, you can use color, not only color in the images, but light color. Those things can tell a story about when the image is, right? In the Sazerac picture, purple is a big Mardi Gras color, right? Green is a big, it's the big St. Patrick's Day color. If you're using harsh, really bright light, conveys summer. Long shadows, more of a golden light can convey winter or fall. The long shadows at the end of the day in the fall. So think about telling the story, putting a time frame on it, and and bringing everything you can into the image. It's not just about the drink; it's about the story around it. Steve, to your question, know your subject, right? So make sure that when you're shooting something, even if it is when it is a bottle or a straight drink, right? But what is Glenlivet known for, right? I mean, it's a Scotch whiskey, right? So it's an old Scotch whiskey. It's been around for a long time. When you go to the Highlands of Scotland, the distilleries towns are built around the distilleries because they've been there so long. So like in this instance, I wanted to show the age of not necessarily this bottle, it's a new bottle, but the heritage and age of the brand itself. So using that tray, it was an old tray, it's beat up, it's rusted. It's not new, it's not pristine, it's not a modern image. It's definitely trying to play off their history. So when you are approaching a drink, learn about it. I mean, you don't have to go to Scotland, of course, but learn about the culture behind it. If we were going to shoot sake, I would want to really jump into the history of sake and learn more about it. What utensils go with it? What would somebody normally eat with when they're having it? Those are the things. What glassware? Glassware is huge, right? A Glenlivet glass, Glencairn glass is the predominant way to drink a Scotch, right? Yeah, see, yeah. So when you're approaching this stuff, think about what glass it should go into. A beer goes into a pint glass, but certain beers you want a Pilsner glass, right? You want for a Pilsner. For a stout glass, you may want to have something that's got a little more bubble to it. An Oktoberfest you want in a Stein, right? So think about what makes sense for that drink, and respect those things and bring them into the photograph. Yeah. Same thing like if you're going to do a photo shoot of someone, a celebrity, you're going to want to learn about that person before you go in cold, right? So same type of idea. And then learn how to make the drinks and dress the drinks. Okay. Learn what garnishes go with it. Learn what's the main ways to make a drink. So with the Sazerac, in my part of New Jersey, you cannot find Sazerac rye, which is what you make a Sazerac with. You can't find it. So I went out and got more. I shot it with a rye because I made it like I would make a Sazerac. But you also notice that picture, I did not put a bottle in, right? I'm not going to put a bottle of, what did I use? I'm trying to remember what rye I used. It's not Bullet. I used Bullet rye. I'm not going to put the Bullet bottle in with the Sazerac because you should be making Sazerac with a Sazerac rye and not, a Kentucky rye. So those are the types of things. Garnishes. What drinks get a citrus garnish? What drinks get a what's the word I'm looking for? Olive garnish. So make sure they're appropriate to the drink, because you will have people are insane about their drinks. And if you include something that should not be there, you will hear it, or it will come back through socials, or through a client. You will hear that, oh well, that you don't use Bullet rye to make a Sazerac. That should be Sazerac. What the hell's wrong with you? So know your drinks, learn how to make them. The fun part of that is you've learned how to make a drink, and you've got now the ingredients to make a drink. As I was really getting into this, my daughter was like 15, 16 years old, and one day she comes by and she's like, "Dad, I'm noticing the liquor shelf is getting really, really big. Should I be worried?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just buying a lot of different things to shoot. Be worried when all that's gone and you find them in a recycling container. Then you can be worried then. But I'm getting all this stuff to shoot. So you'll build up your collection as you go. All right, prep. There is more to this than just dropping a bottle or a glass on the table and taking a shot. You will notice. Let me go back into full frame here. You will notice that with this bottle of Glenlivet, which is the one I showed you earlier, right? This is the actual bottle I shot. Now, there's the front label. You need that. That needs to be there. But you will notice there is no back label. Okay? There is no back label at all. If there's some things have back labels on the neck too, I strip away the back. I will get a razor blade and shave it down. I will also use goof off, and rub it down to get that back of the bottle as clear as I possibly can. What will happen for you is, if you don't, you will get weird shadows jumping all over the place. You will see that shadow cast by the back label, and it will ruin your light coming through. And depending on your angle, it's going to be a big black blob just sitting there for you. So get rid of your labels, make the back of those of the glass as clean as debris free as possible. If you're doing client work and they're giving you glassware, a lot of it's downstairs in the studio. A lot of breweries, a lot of wineries will have glassware, and they'll have printing on both sides of the glass. If you can, ask to get glassware without printing on the backside. Because you can, and if they want to highlight the printing on the backside, get two separate glasses. Do one with the front, one with the back. Because you will see that the printing will come through lighter liquids and look funky. You'll get that diffusion, you'll get that distortion. You may or may not be able to even see what it is, but it will be distracting. So try to get that. That painting that they put on is very, very hard to get off. So, if you can get it without it, definitely see if you can get them without before they've been printed. Sometimes they'll have them. I know one or two breweries, they were like, "Oh, we were going to throw these out because they were misprints or they were tests." I'm like, "Oh, thank God you didn't. I'll take them. Give me them." The clear plastic on the caps. Take off the clear plastic on the wraps. All right. So you will have the little paper seal. You can leave that on, but that clear plastic, that will give you some really funky reflections and just look really crappy if you leave that on. So just take a little razor blade. You can cut it in the back and just gently peel it off so the paper ones will stay. And then your bottles and glass, depending on the shot you're doing, you're going to want to treat them. So when I take say a pint glass that I want to, put a Pilsner in, or I want to put a cool weather beer, my glass prep is usually two things. A matte varnish to give it a little bit of that cold look, to give it a little bit of frost look. I will usually, this is usually a day or two before my shoot. I will spray the glass with the matte, let it dry. Then I will spray it with the crystal clear coat, and then let that dry. Usually then I let those both sit on it overnight. The reasoning behind that is you want that stuff to really cure in. You want it to dry. You want it to be, dried completely, because if you don't, that stuff will run if it's too fast. And the main thing behind the clear coat is the dulling spray, is that's going to help you get your condensation to stick. We're going to talk more about the condensation, but the clear coat, think of it as like a little bit of grip. So those water moisture droplets will then have something to hold on to, and they won't just slide off the glass.
That clear coat won't show up in a picture?
Nope. Well, you tell me, Steve.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Really?
Yep.
So you're doing the matte first.
Well, so in this, this image, this has matte to give it a little bit more of a cold. And also on the back of the glasses, what the matte helps too is the matte helps diffuse light. So if you're backlighting this at all, the matte gives you a little bit of diffusion to help space that out a little bit too. So it does two things for you. Then let the matte dry, then the clear coat, and that's what gets those condensation droplets to stay. I can prep a glass, spray it for condensation, go away, have lunch, come back, those bubbles are still going to be there.
Nice.
Okay. And you don't see it. You don't. And I'm not talking. Don't. Be judicious. Don't overspray. But cover the glass nicely. Okay. And then what you can do too is after the fact, when you're done, some regular dish soap and maybe steel wool will take that stuff off. And you can salvage the glass. You're not going to have to, get rid of the glass, or it's not going to remain on the glass forever. Okay. The matte I don't always use if I'm not looking for that cold, that cold look. Sometimes I'll go with just a clear coat. But you can adjust to taste, if you will. Okay. Now, this brings us into the cold cues, condensation. So after you've done the clear coat, my main go-to for condensation is a 50-50 mix of water and glycerin. So the glycerin will, and you can you can order glycerin from Amazon. If you can find clear Caro syrup in your supermarket, you can use that. Don't use sometimes I'm trying to remember there's one that's got an amber or a cola feel to it. You don't want that one. But a 50-50 mixture, what I'll do is I'll take the glycerin, a cup of glycerin, throw it in the microwave, maybe for 30-40 seconds, take it out, add the water, pour it in the spray bottle, shake it up, and that's my spray bottle of glycerin. That will last like a 2-cup spray bottle of 50-50 will probably last me, 3 months. So you can keep it around. Your spray bottles are going to become important. So if you, sorry, I can't zoom in. If you look at the bottle, look at the glass, you will see different size condensation. You want that. That's natural. If every condensation bubble on that glass is exactly the same size, that's going to look unnatural. Condensation doesn't form that way. So you want to find a spray bottle that will give you different sizes. Sometimes it's a matter then of how you approach the bottle, the spray bottle with the glass. Sometimes I'll shoot off to the side. Sometimes I'll shoot on it, and you just begin to experiment with different spray bottles, and then experiment with different angles approaching the glass, and you'll start to get to, you'll find the happy spot for you where you can create different size condensation on it. I went through, I don't know, maybe about 10 to 12 spray bottles before I found one I really liked. And it's a cheapy, I got it at a garden store. Didn't even have a brand name on it. And I'm like, oh, let me try this one. And I love it. If I ever lose that one, I'm going to be heartbroken because I know I won't be able to find it again. But it's just the one, you know. Also realize condensation is not going to really form where there's foam. You may get a little, possibly, but when you have a very heavy foam head, make sure your condensation is not at that level of the glass. So keep a little. I use gauze pads a lot, where I'll just give it a quick wipe, or I always have Q-tips around. So just give it a little wipe around where you have your foam, and then that will make it look more realistic. Drips, like I said, it will stay there, but once in a while when you first apply it, you may get a drip. That's natural. I like that. So if you look at the Pilsner here, I mean, you can see down the center just a little bit to the left as you're looking at it. There is a track where a drip ran down the glass and they leave a wake. They clean everything behind it. So that's natural. If it's just one or two of those, I look at that as a win. So it gives it more of that what a beer would look like, right? So and then for glasses, like, say if I'm going to do something on the rocks, like a scotch on the rocks, or any drink on the rocks in a rocks glass. I don't use this because that's a lot of condensation. Even if a whiskey on the rocks is not going to give you that condensation, right? I get a clothes steamer, electric clothes steamer. Just plug it in. It's $30. Put water in it, and it's used to take wrinkles out of curtains and clothes and stuff. And it blows out steam. So for the Sazerac, you'll see, I mean, there's moisture around it. It's not heavy duty condensation like on a beer, but that condensation was a steamer that I'm holding out of camera. I'm spraying it. I'm shooting it. I'm looking at it. I'm clicking the trigger. I'm clicking the shutter. Maybe add a little more. Do it again. So it's an iterative process where I'm spraying it. Let the actual steam dissipate a little bit so you don't get the cloud look, but then it leaves behind the condensation. And that's a good way, like I said, for a glass, that would have a little bit of chill to it, but not a lot. And here's knowing your drink again. A Sazerac you make in two glasses. One has the ice. The other one is the serve. So what you've done is you've mixed the Sazerac in one glass. You've shaken it up. You've then strained it into the serving glass. So the liquid is going to be cold. There's no ice, but the liquid will be cold. So if it sits a second, it will create a little bit of condensation. Now this is the Mac versus PC argument in the beverage world. Ice, real or fake, right? Do you use the real ice or you use fake ice? It's a personal preference based on the photographer. I have used both real ice and fake ice, and there is both real ice and fake ice in these photos that you're seeing right now. Ice is challenging to work with because it will melt, of course. And getting clear ice is a definite challenge. You will see ads on Amazon, things on Amazon. You will see ads on Instagram for, the magical whiskey ice maker that will create clear ice at home. It's bullshit. Don't buy them. I've already done it. I'll save you the $30 for it. It will not create clear ice. There will always be, you will always get ice crystals. You will always get those shots of the air running through them. You will not make clear ice at home. You can find local places now that are making clear ice. There is a place a guy right down the road from me who's making them for craft bars now. And I hooked up with him, told him who I was. Hey, I'm a beverage photographer. Can I get some of your ice? I want to do some test shots. He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Did some test shots. He just gave me ice. And then after he saw the test shots, he's like, if I keep giving you ice, will you give me some pictures from time to time? I'm like, sure, absolutely. So I never pay for ice, and some of my images are on his website. So if you look around, you will find clear ice manufacturers. They have these huge machines. They're super expensive. Maybe someday, when I land the Glenlivet account, maybe I'll be able to afford one in my studio. But at this point in time, I'm happy with him. So find an ice guy. You can find good acrylic ice. You will not find good acrylic ice on Amazon. You will find good acrylic ice at a couple of places. I found two. There's Trendgrove out of the Set Shop in New York. They will mail order you. And there's another guy I just found, Dancing Ghost Acrylic Ice. He's in the UK. Per ice cube, he's cheaper. And if you buy enough, it balances out. So even with the shipping, you're getting a better deal. The acrylic ice is handmade. It is very expensive. It will last for you forever. I have a box in my studio that it's covered in a lens cloth, and I keep it, in a box in the lens cloth so it doesn't get nicked. I mean, each ice cube usually is about $50 for one. So, if you go and purchase it, you want to keep it good. All right. But yeah, so I mean, photographers will see it. Most other people will not see it. Like in this one, there's two fake ice cubes in what I'm showing you right now.
So Freddie, I actually do a lot of ice. I photograph a lot of ice, and
Okay.
I have actually learned how to make clear ice.
You have? Okay.
I have, yeah, and it's a lot easier than you think. Now the molds don't really work. I mean, once you're done making a clear ice, you have to form it by hand, so that's a disadvantage.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
The problem, what a lot of people run into is they grow their ice too long. So the longer you keep ice in the freezer, the harder it gets. The harder it gets, it starts to push the oxygen and the bubbles into the ice, and that's where you get that white impurity. So the trick is get yourself a cup or a container, spray the outside with foam sealer. So what it does is it forces the ice to only chill from the top down. Okay. And then you have to do your experiment to figure out, okay, like if I do say a cup size or a quart size, when is it going to freeze to the bottom? Once it's frozen to the bottom, you can pop it out and you'll have 3/4 or 7/8 of that thing will be perfectly clear ice. Okay. However, it's soft, and because it's soft, it does melt quicker. But it's very easy to take like a butter knife and to chop it and make rough cubes, to make rough balls. But you can do it. So somebody who doesn't have the budget to go buy the acrylic ice, or you don't have easy access, or maybe during the time you're finding that access, where you can get quantities of beautiful ice that's already made, there is a way to do it. Yeah.
All right. I did not come across that method. I did distilled water, double boiled and froze. I mean, it was just, it was all a mess.
Troy,
Yeah.
when you said foam, you mean the expanding foam?
Yeah. So basically, the idea is you want to insulate the
Construction
cup.
foam?
Yeah. So I use the construction foam, and I go buy little containers at Home Depot. But you can also do little cocktail glasses, spray them with foam. The goal is you want it to only freeze from the top down, not from the outside in, because then it makes the center of the ice white, and you have no usable ice. Most of the time, if you take an ice cube out of the tray before it's really hard, you'll notice the ice is white in the middle. And that's what we're doing, is we're forcing that freezing from the top down. So the top is the most frozen part and the bottom freezes slower, takes its time to work its way through. You flip it over, you pop it out. And I've done quart sizes in there, and I've frozen bugs in them. I've frozen flowers in them. The wife wasn't too happy, but it works. And it's nearly perfect. You just have to learn how long to bake it or grow it in your freezer. So
okay, all right,
it's worth
good
experimenting with.
Yeah, hey, always learn something new, man. Yeah, so I mean, with the ice, the photographers will be able to spot them, the fake ice, the acrylic ice, but usually no one else will. I've never had anybody who's not a photographer go, "That's acrylic ice." Never happened. So just for your knowledge there. All right, splashes and pours. This is where we get messy, and this is where I usually get in trouble for making the studio smell like a distillery and/or brewery. It's a lot of fun to do. You definitely need to have a tripod. You want to lock everything down. So in this shot, there is nothing in that shot other than the actual whiskey that was able to move. The Glencairn glass died a noble death because I glued it down to the.
So that your slides aren't on.
Oh, sorry. Good. Thanks for the catch.
There we go.
That
We're all using our imagination, though.
As soon as I don't see alcohol, I start freaking out.
So this shot here, there is nothing that doesn't move other than the whiskey. Nothing that can move other than the whiskey. So the Glencairn glass is actually glued to the surface. That whiskey bottle is an old whiskey bottle that I had emptied and took the bottom off. And there is a clamp holding it that's attached to a C-stand. If you look online, you can find videos to show you how to cut glass with twine, acetate, and fire, and a cold bucket. So basically, it's as simple as you take some twine, you wrap it around the bottom of your bottle. You dip it in some acetate, you coat it with acetate, the twine, you light it on fire, you hold it for about a minute, you keep moving it around so the flame engulfs the entire twine, and then you dip it in a cold bucket of water, a bucket of cold water, and that bottom will pop right off. And yes, or by a bottle cutter, try to do a straight edge on a bottle with a glass cutter. It is a pain in the butt. This has been the best way I've found. It costs you almost nothing. Keep a can of acetate around, and then it literally the bottom pops right off. Then I take a clamp the funnel of the part. Now it's basically just a funnel. Clamp that, and the whiskey is what's moving, and I can do this over and over and over again, pouring the whiskey through the bottom of the bottle, coming down into the glass. I'll have a turkey baster or a large syringe to pull the whiskey back out when I want to reshoot, and then just keep repeating until I get the shot. And it's really just becomes then a matter of timing to get a pour that I like.
Okay. So Freddie, Frank Peel is asking acetate or acetone?
Let me double check. I think it's acetate, but I'll double check. I will double check. Paint thinner, basically. Which one is paint thinner?
Acetate, yeah, acetate,
I
yeah.
think acetate.
I mean, probably acetone would probably work too, because anything that's going to
Burn
burn
anything
and create
flammable.
some
Yeah,
heat,
yeah, you know.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's focusing the heat on wherever that rope is. So,
and then it's the sudden shift from hot to cold that cracks it.
yep,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. So just and you know, just do it outside. Do it with a hose nearby. You know, don't burn
wear a
down.
glove.
Don't.
You're saying
burn.
don't do this in the house?
Don't do this in the house.
That's the
Yes.
fun.
Well, you know what? If you live alone and you may want to burn your house down, knock yourself out. That's not, you know, that's between you and your insurance company. All right. Then also, one of the things with splashes and pours is Photoshop is your friend. Learn compositing. Learn how to composite multiple images together. I shot this by myself in my studio with no one else. So how could I do that? You know, I didn't use a timer. I triggered every shot with a remote. It's because the hand up top doing the pour is one shot. The right hand holding the ice cube is a second shot. The glass the glass and the background is a third shot. So learn how to do some basic Photoshop work. It's not challenging. You can do it all with masking, but Photoshop is definitely going to be your friend for this type of thing. You know, when you see pictures of glasses in midair or glasses at odd angles, which one did I put in here? Hold on. All right, this is just a different type. I'll talk about this. Anything basically where you see something that looks unnatural, it's built, right? It's a glass, and it might have a support underneath it that's then photoshopped out. So it's you know, it's always, there's always a trick to the shots that look like there's a trick. Now, nobody's throwing a glass up in the air and just catching it right. That's, you know, you're going to go through a lot of glassware that way. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, do it. So this shot here, this is a composite. I had seen, I can't take credit for the way the splash was created. I found that on, actually, there's a woman in an Eastern European country. I'm drawing a blank on her name, Dina something. She does a whole bunch of shoots where glass is literally like raising, liquid is kind of floating up out of a glass. So I saw that and I was like, what can I do with that? So really what you're doing here is the glass is upside down and you're shooting with a syringe the liquid into the glass and then photographing the liquid coming back out. So I took a pint glass, I glued it to a piece of wood, a couple of big clamps, turned the whole thing upside down about 3 feet off the ground, mimicked my angle for where I thought I was going to be with the rim of the glass, the angle I wanted to approach it, and then shot it straight up into the glass, catching it falling down. So that's one shot. I mean, it took a bunch of shots. The foam, that's probably 3 different shots that I got, different angle, different pieces of the beer coming down. And then this is just me in the studio holding a glass of beer out toward the camera, and then taking that and then going into Photoshop and flipping the upside down, pasting it on, and creating the one image. So with this, what I'm trying to say is look to what other people have done, figure out how they're doing it. A lot of times they'll show you how they're doing it, and then put your own spin on it, right? This woman who I found, never seen her shoot alcohol. Everything is coffee or tea and stuff like that. She does these beautiful still lifes where the liquid's coming up out of the coffee glass, out of the mug. So it was just, all right, well, I like that look, and the premise on this one was, I'm carrying a beer and I'm actually in the middle of tripping and it's popping out as I'm coming toward you. So that was the thinking. So just put your own spin on it. Everything's been done already, but just put your creativity to it and try something new. And then not only that, does not have to be alcohol. I do shoot other things. So there's coffees, there's root beer, there's lemonade. It does not have to be just alcohol. So, whatever you like to drink, whatever strikes your fancy, go for it. That's it.
And Dwayne asked, can't wait to hear your definition of an Irish car bomb.
An Irish car bomb. What is an Irish car bomb?
All right. Dwayne,
other than the actual Irish, car bomb.
Yeah, we are talking Irish. Yeah.
That's a drink I haven't heard of, so I'll look that up.
Does anybody have any questions?
So if you have any questions for Freddie, hit me up now, and we'll pass them through.
You're not late, Mark. You're just here for happy hour. We're gonna go ahead and open up the chat here any second. We'll just let everybody talk with Freddie a little bit.
See, and the episode that we just did on Behind the Shot was the Glenlivet 12 bottle with the 2 Glencairn glasses. And yeah, just so creative. There's things I just never would have thought of. Flaming Dr. Pepper, Kim says.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
Before I let everybody in, let me just say thank you, Freddie, for all that information. For those of you that are watching this, on YouTube, you're missing out on the live hangout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, and then we're going to hang out. So make sure that you come
Troy,
to the live.
One other thing. Steve mentioned a little bit at the beginning, putting together a workshop in New Orleans.
Hang on one sec. Troy, did you stop your recording?
I did not.
Okay. Good. Ignore it.
Okay. So putting together a workshop in New Orleans for October. It's called Wanderers Photo Excursions. It's wanderersphoto.com. I believe it's there it is. I have a video I'm gonna play. It's a 3-minute video. If you guys will indulge me, it's pretty concise, and it really goes into everything about it. So if it's cool with everybody, if you got 3 minutes, I'll
that's
play the
perfect.
video.
And so that Dwayne answered the one question. It's Guinness with a shot of whiskey dropped into it.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, Dwayne,
I'll be doing that later.
That's a good idea. I will give that a shot here one day. All right, so let me do the sharing here.
When I was thinking about creating the Wanderers, I wanted the first city to be someplace special, and I knew that it had to be New Orleans. I'm Freddy Clark, and I'd like to tell you all about the exciting workshop we've got coming up. The people, the history, the food, the drink, and the music. These are the things that make up the culture of a place. The goal of the Wanderers Photographic Cultural Experience is to give you the real feeling of a place, provide first-class instruction in a variety of photographic genres, and make sure you have an amazing time while doing so. This October, from Sunday the 10th through Thursday the 14th, we've created a multi-genre 5-day workshop set against the backdrop of one of the most unique cities in the world. You'll get on-site interactive and personal instruction in food, music, and travel photography, access to singular events that would be unavailable to you if you traveled alone, and roundtable discussions to give you insights into how the instructors go about their art. We're going to be staying at a great boutique hotel right outside the French Quarter. We travel to the city as a group and have meals at some of the finest restaurants the place has to offer. From the moment you arrive, everything is included, except for alcohol, until the end of the workshop. The instructors are going to be your guide through their photographic specialties during their interactive sessions, and then will be there the whole time with opportunities for conversation and questions throughout. The workshop is only open to 12 people, so you're going to have a truly personalized experience. In putting this together, I wanted excellent photographers who are great educators and really interesting people who will be fun to spend time with. So I'm so excited to be able to tell you that your instructors are all that and more. So rather than have me rave on about them, let's hear directly from them.
Hi, I'm Steve Brazel, a live music photographer from Southern California and the host of the Behind the Shot podcast. As part of this multi-genre workshop, I'll be covering music photography, and to make it more comfortable for you, we'll be starting in a controlled environment. We'll use a local venue, a local band, and lighting that's all specifically set up just for us. Then, you'll be able to take what you've learned and photograph at a legendary New Orleans music venue. I hope you'll be able to join us in New Orleans to learn live music photography and so much more.
Hey, I'm Ant Pruitt, professional photographer, all-around digital content creator. I can't wait to see you down in New Orleans with the Wanderers Photo Excursion. I'm going to have a great time showing you how to get some amazing street photography and some cityscapes, and we might even dive into a little bit of long exposure. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see you there.
We also have Andrew Scrivani, who's worked on editorial, publishing, advertising, content creation, documentary, and feature film projects. He's an internationally recognized workshop instructor, author, and columnist on the subject of visuals. He's been a regular contributor to the New York Times since 2002. He's going to be your guide through the food aspect of this workshop. We're going to have 2 different food location shoots creating photographs of some of the city's most iconic dishes. We're planning meals in restaurants that are going to give you a real taste for the finest the city has to offer. As you can see, there's a lot already planned, and more is in the works all the time. So you're going to have the opportunity to experience a great place like New Orleans, get some fantastic photographs, learn a lot, and have a great time doing it. So visit wanderersphoto.com for more information and to sign up. Thanks for your time, and I hope to see you in New Orleans in October. Cheers.
So that's the nuts and bolts on the Wanderers in New Orleans. So the website is up now. There are spots available. They are going. So I recommend if you want to join us, please go check it out. And so that's any questions about the beverage, any questions about the Wanderers, I'm good to go.
Perfect.
You want to
right.
open it up?
Thank
to
you. I'm going
people,
to
Troy?
stop the recording. I'm going to go and open up the video. I mean the hangout for everybody. Thanks, Steve. Steve, this is where you thank me, but whatever.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Troy.
Bye.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Troy. This, by the way, this is all Troy's brainchild anyway. So yes, thank you, Troy.